Hello everyone, I'm forecaster Jack Sillin here to discuss the severe weather setup for the afternoon evening of Thursday, June 28th, 2018. Here's a look at our GOES East satellite imagery, water vapor band here. Always a great place to start when you're looking at the weather pattern over a large area. You can see a setup here that is favorable for severe thunderstorm activity in the northern plains, especially in parts of North Dakota. An upper level trough is located across northwestern Nevada this afternoon with a little disturbance embedded in that trough circulation. That disturbance currently located a little bit northeast of Salt Lake City, and it is moving towards southeastern Montana here. As that disturbance arrives in southwestern Montana in a few hours, we'll see thunderstorm activity really pick up in a big way, although storms are possible due to some smaller scale features over the next few hours. And we'll actually take a look at those right now with our zoomed in GOES East satellite imagery. This is the 1 minute imagery, the visible here, so we can see actually the clouds that are starting to bubble up here in parts of North Dakota. There is a little boundary here to the north of the Bismarck area. You can see that boundary right in here, and that is helping to get some air parcels moving in the upward direction. You can see some of these cumulus clouds starting to get a little bit more agitated, a little bit bubblier here. None that have erupted into fully fledged storms yet, although expect storms to initiate up in this area over the next couple of hours, so keep an eye on that. Farther to the south here, there's another boundary that runs to the south of Jamestown, south of Bismarck, south of Dickinson, and you can see that there is some severe thunderstorm activity that is already ongoing here. These are kind of relics of earlier storms that developed and really peaked this morning, but they're still moving off to the east this afternoon. Clear skies mainly from Bismarck back to the west towards Dickinson, and clear skies down here in southeastern Montana as well. So temperatures are warming into the 80s. You can see these clouds moving from southeast to northwest, so we have southeasterly flow in the low levels. That's bringing moisture in from the Gulf of Mexico. Kind of all the ingredients coming together here, and we're waiting on that disturbance from Salt Lake City to make its way up into this area before storms really get going later this afternoon and evening. Here's a quick look at our pressure observations this afternoon. You can see there's this area of lower pressures in the lee of the Rocky Mountains. That is kind of another feature that is going to help with severe thunderstorms getting going today. A little bit of a boost from the lower surface pressures and the kind of general rising motion that accompanies those lower pressures here in southeastern Montana especially. Looking at our severe thunderstorm composite from the ECMWF for tonight. This is actually 2 a.m. Eastern, so 1 a.m. Central Time. You can see that we have a setup that is very ripe for severe thunderstorms. Deep instability even well after the sun goes down. Cape values in excess of 4,000 joules per kilogram. You typically need about 1,000 joules per kilogram to support severe thunderstorms, although that number depends from day to day. It's not an exact guide or predictor of severe thunderstorm activity. Wind profiles are excellent. Here we have southeasterly winds at the surface, and again this is especially visible a little bit earlier in the evening. Southeasterly winds at the surface, veering and strengthening with height, and then you can see also strengthening with time. So the length of the vector here is proportional to the wind speed, so the longer the arrow, the stronger the wind is blowing. And as you can see, as we move from 11 in the evening to 2 in the morning, we have strengthening winds, especially in the mid and upper levels here. So lots of wind shear, lots of instability. We have our trigger mechanisms moving into place, so we are really all set for severe thunderstorm activity. Looking at our simulated radar imagery, we can load up the latest run. Oh, that might not be complete yet. Alright, so here's our simulated radar imagery from the HRRR, rather from weathermodels.com. Again, this is not meant to be a pinpoint guide for exactly which town storms are going to pop up in, but it'll give you a good general sense of how things should evolve over the next several hours. So scattered activity here along those boundaries that I was talking about, that's generally to the north of the Bismarck area. We'll look for that scattered activity to continue over the next several hours, so this is 5 o'clock Central Time. Some of this activity is likely to become very intense supercellular thunderstorms producing very large hail, damaging winds, potential for tornadoes as well as they move to the east. And then once we get towards the later evening, you can see storms starting to pop up in southeastern Montana, northeastern Wyoming here as that disturbance from Salt Lake City approaches. These storms are likely to become consolidated a little bit more than the earlier storms, so we'll look for a line of storms to start to develop as we move into the overnight hours. And as that line of storms moves east across southwestern North Dakota especially, look for a swath of widespread, very strong winds, likely over hurricane force, capable of causing just as much damage as a low to moderate strength tornado. So take these storms very seriously. Again, this is not meant to be a pinpoint accuracy, so the position of this line could shift a little bit, but keep an eye on our HD radar products to track those storms as they develop, and if they are headed your way, take proper precautions. So move to an interior room, the lowest floor of your building, and that is the safest place to be, both in a tornado and in a very strong straight line wind event like this. Hail also possible with these storms, and lightning and torrential downpours. So very dangerous situation here tonight and into the early part of tomorrow morning across North Dakota. The storms will weaken a little bit as they move towards the Minnesota border tomorrow morning. Looking at our a very new product that we have here, lightning density. This is a kind of proxy for thunderstorm intensity. The stronger a thunderstorm is, the more lightning it will produce. So you can see extremely high concentrations of lightning over parts of central North Dakota here. This is again for early tomorrow morning. So this is the past 3 hours prior to the time here. So between 2 and 5 a.m. Eastern time, so between 1 and 4 Central time, we have lots and lots of lightning going on here. That shows you that these storms are going to be very intense. Plenty of wind shear. This is something I talked about a little bit earlier with our severe thunderstorm composite map, but wind shear even as early as 8 o'clock tonight, plenty of it, 50 knots plus. That's strong wind shear. It'll taper off briefly before ramping up much more in a much bigger way as we move into the overnight hours here and early tomorrow morning. That will be due to that Salt Lake City disturbance approaching the area. So keep an eye on those storms. They are going to be very intense. All hazards of severe weather are expected. So you can track these storms with the Goes East products that I showed you earlier. If you press the little blue button here that says HD, you'll get our HD radar. And so that will help you see exactly where storms are, individual storm cells. You can zoom out with this button here, so that'll give you a more regional view. Switch radars by pressing the little circles here, and then click the map to zoom in if you want to take a look at a different location. So storms are already underway to the north of the Fargo area, and you can see that those storms there with their outflow boundary here. You can press, again, any of these blue buttons are storm tracking options that we have. So this is the lightning, our lightning detection, and you can click on individual strikes here for much more information about that particular strike, including a street level map and information on how strong the strike was, including also its exact time. So lots of really neat features that we have here to help you stay ahead of the storms. And you can also access these with the menus to the left of the image. So if that's what works better for you, then definitely check that out. I'll have more updates on Twitter as the evening wears on, so you can follow us at WEATHER.US. You can follow me as well at Jack Sillin. Thanks for watching.